The very first Metal Gear game was released on July 13th, 1987 on the MSX2 computer system. While it was very popular in Japan and most of Europe, in the West the Nintendo Entertainment System version was more popular. But today we'll only exclusively look at that version of Metal Gear that takes place on the original MSX2 version. Speedruns of this title have had a long history with various stats of improvements, knowledge lost and refound, and intense battles for the world record. Here's the world record history for the Metal Gear MSX 80% speedrun. So how does Metal Gear work? Your goal is to defeat the enemy commander of Outer Heaven and destroy the Metal Gear present. On your way, you have to find and rescue both your Foxhound team member, Gray Fox, and the scientist who created the Metal Gear TX-55, Dr. Mattner. However, for the speedrun purposes, not all of that is technically required. The real speedrun looks slightly different. Saving POWs is priority number 1 at first. You want to do this to get your rank higher. The higher your rank, the more health you have and the more ammo you can carry. In order to end the game, we need to be able to hold at least 16 plastic explosives. So it is mandatory to get to rank 4 to be able to hold the minimum 16 explosives necessary. Every 5 POWs saved, you get a rank up, meaning throughout the run you need to save 15 POWs. And thankfully special POWs like Gray Fox, Dr. Matt and his daughter Ellen all count to the rank up system as well. So your goal is clear. Start the game, save enough POWs necessary, grab the plastic explosives and destroy Metal Gear. And here's how that route was set up by Thomas Hagen back in 2004. This run was hard to find. It was talked about in the MSX forums back in 2005 and 6. Back then it was shared via file sharing platforms that have long since then stopped their services. In 2004, there was no YouTube to upload a video to, and it took until 2010 before YouTube allowed longer video uploads than 10 minutes. So thankfully, through a series of re-uploads without credits and some partial re-uploads that did credit Thomas Hagen, I was able to piece it together. A 2012 re-upload from YouTube that used a video from another website from 2007 is indeed that very old 2004 run. So now after 20 years, we can proudly take a look at this very first run by Thomas Hagen. His routing of grabbing the POWs is quite particular. 4 on 3F, 2 on 1F, and 2 on 2F. None on the roof, and finally the 10th POW back in the central courtyard. This layout is actually used today as well and shows how much ahead of his time Thomas Hagen actually was for playing out the speedrun route. For Building 2, the very same POWs we visit today are present here as well in this 2004 speedrun. 1 on the roof, 2 in the underground, and 2 more on 2F before getting the rocket launcher. Exactly how model runs visit the POWs as well. I say that not to necessarily show that Thomas Hagen was the first one, but also to show that he was technically the originator of a lot of things we will later bring back again after this knowledge has been lost. Thomas did also make sure to avoid as many alerts as possible, really only taking those alerts that are mandatory throughout the run. So for the most part, this early run is basically what can be considered the layout for big boss runs later. You should know that back in 1987, the game did not feature the iconic score screen. There was just the title screen, playing the game, credits, and return to title. So getting ranks was not yet a thing in the original Metal Gear MSX. So, throughout the run at the hind, for example, Thomas stands under the boxes to not get hit and have the right range for the hind for the grenade launcher. Then after the hind in the courtyard, he walks around the mines without using a mine detector. In the tank in the desert, Thomas skips the fight entirely by taking damage and then walking through the tank using his iframes. After the fire trooper fight, he finishes Building 2 quickly by grabbing the last set of plastic explosives as he's now in rank 4, ready to tackle the final boss. In the desert too, he's walking out with the submachine gun and does not take any stops. After grabbing the oxygen tank, he does one quick walk back, takes a big swim, defeats Dirty Duck and returns back again through the desert on the other side of Building 3. You should know that the poison status that the scorpions give you in this desert too does not drop after death, and the antidote is quite far out of the way to grab it. You also don't have many rations with you, so avoiding being poisoned is actually key in this situation. And Thomas does this quite well. So after all this, at the end, Thomas faces the TX-55, places the plastic explosives in the exact order to destroy the Metal Gear, and then faces Big Boss. Big Boss on the original Metal Gear is very fast, and the strategy is simply to stand at the right corner of a box to just relentlessly shoot rockets at his direction. It is thankfully not RNG and very easy to perform, so for runners, this part of the run is mostly stress-free at the end. Finally, there's the ladder room, and we must take the left ladder in order to not end up at the dead end. So once all that was done, Thomas finishes his run in 2004, and we have our very first run with a time of 33 minutes and 44 seconds. There's only one problem. This run was tasked with early tools and save states, so it's not a single segment run as much as I'd love this to be true. If it was legitimate for the leaderboards today, it would have been the world record for years to come. There is, however, another run I found during my research, and it's from 2010. It was an early test for the task forum and showed that the Open MSX emulator was ready to be allowed for the tasking boards. Vampire MSX is the developer, supporter, and enthusiast for the MSX platform, and that made this run. After reaching out to him, he graciously offered to unlist his now privated run again for us to enjoy. Thank you, Vampire, for allowing us to see a bit more of the history of Metal Gear MSX. What first immediately becomes clear, he takes a lot more alerts to save time. You should know that the alerts with a single exclamation mark are rooms only, versus the double exclamation marks, which are floor-wide alerts that won't go away on the room change. So while Metal Gear's idea of trying to be stealthy as possible may be part of its design, without the end screen showing your stats, promoting to lower your alerts, ration uses, etc., especially without the rank name, there wasn't really a need to be stealthy just to finish the game fast. Then there's yet another curiosity. Cameras apparently are blind on the edges. What? Another first time is the use of the save load glitch. Pressing F1, F4, escape F1 reloads the room and you spawn where you stand to get instantly new items like ammo or rations. This was found out by just playing around and accidentally keep hitting these buttons in the menu. But for the speedrun, it will be quite useful. Then there's more route optimization like getting the low hostage in F2 first, then doing MGK, and then the level 1 door POW. After the POW, also Vampire takes a bigger risk, taking a floor-wide alert with a shorter path, reaching the elevator way faster. After the hind, in the desert then, the reload glitch was used again to grab the explosives way faster. We also see in the desert there's another tank setup with the same iframe skip. Once again, after getting the rocket launcher, he also used the save load glitch to get ammunition very quickly for that weapon. And after all of this run, we see one last new improvement. There's a new glitch in the MSX version that has been found out randomly, and that's that you can actually go up any of the 3 ladders if you want to. This is the invisible ladder or Spider-Man glitch, and he uses this here in the middle ladder just to go up and continues going up even after the ladder ends. But where are the single segment human achieved runs, which are actually the main focus of this show? Well, this is where we clearly see that Metal Gear was really not popular at all for speedrunners. We had a lot of activity early on for the Metal Gear Solid games. This is mainly because they were released on big platforms like PlayStation, and in case of Metal Gear Solid 2 even, also on Xbox. But the MSX2 computer system was not really played on a lot from the early 2000s on. There was definitely a scene that even persists to this day, but the community at large was less interested in speedrunning and more in creating programs and games for the platform. Well, before we get to the human runs now, I want to take one last look at the actual task of Metal Gear MSX by Danius from 2015. The task is the first one actually that's also performed on today's standards on the leaderboards. It uses the Panasonic FSA1WSX machine. It runs on the original Japanese ROM without an English translation. This immediately impacts the run, as on every item pickup there's a text box explaining what has been picked up, which later has been patched out in other versions of the game. In the run, the task uses also a lot of alerts to avoid slowdowns. What I find interesting also is that the task also does not use any gas mask to avoid damage from the gas rooms. Of course, with perfect manipulation, the task can also take a floor-wide alert in the free F map. It then proceeds to kill 3 guards from grabbing the pistol ammo and kill the 4th guard right after the gas room to drop the alert. And fun fact, cameras are inactive after an alert drop while still being in the same room. And it then uses the first new use case of a reload glitch. It turns the electric floor off, so not only can you just reload the game in order to quickly grab ammunition and rations, but also it turns off the electric floors, which there are many of in the game, but where they are quite annoying in a way, so we just turn them off with this trick, we can move on. After that follows an insane 4 horsemen fight, and interestingly, the task also does not get the SMG, as it's not required. As we see here in this task, there's lots of instances as well where the task is just ignoring a lot of the enemies and just keeps walking through them. And of course, as a task does, when we have some slowdowns and wait times, the task gives us a great entertaining fight. What we'll also see here is, for the first time actually, a run not doing the fire trooper fight, but also just damage boosting through him. And of course, thanks to perfect manipulation, the task does not need to go to the ammo room to get ammunition for the rocket launcher, but instead just kills the guards and gets drops that way. Once again, just before they deduct, there's an electric floor, which will just turn off with the reload glitch. And thanks to smart ration pickups, once again for manipulation, we can also make it through the gas room right at the end of the game. Once more, before the TX55 fight, we're just gonna quickly reload the area and turn off the electric floor, saving us health. And then of course, there's the two boss fights, the TX55 and Big Boss. One last thing before this run is over. Once again, we see the Spider-Man glitch here, but actually not on the middle ladder. It's also possible to be done on the most right ladder, of course, being way faster because we can go it immediately and not need to go to the middle one. This run is a marvel of strategies, ideas, and manipulation. It clocks in at 26 minutes and 21 seconds real time by today's standards. But as promised, we will now look at the human single segment world records. And what I found out while researching is that there have not been any attempts trying to speedrun the MSX version of Metal Gear for a long while. Indeed, what most people played was the included version of Metal Gear in the second disc of Metal Gear Solid 3 Subsistence. That version of Metal Gear actually is quite different in some deciding aspects in regards to the speedrun. In 2004, Konami released the official mobile phone remake of Metal Gear, which is known today as the Java port. The Java port was then used in 2005 to make the Metal Gear MSX version that was added to Metal Gear Solid 3 Subsistence Disc 2. For the first time, Metal Gear actually had a score screen that tracked stats, like the amount of continues we have, rations used, kills done, saves, and also a rank including the in-game timer. That timer usually works in tandem of running at the same speed as real time. Time starts the moment you start the game, and time ends when the last frame of the ladder screen post Big Boss is left. During menuing and everything in the game, the in-game timer keeps on ticking. What is also new is the addition of difficulty choices. Original, which emulates the damage and health numbers of the MSX release, and easy. Back when runners started doing runs Metal Gear on PS2, everyone still chose the original difficulty. So I'd be a fool not to include a finding that I had during my research phase. In 2011, an Italian YouTuber by the name of Lighter91 uploaded a single segment completion of Metal Gear MSX. I will not today look into that run for much detail, as after inspecting the run was mainly a quick single segment playthrough rather than a serious attempt at beating the game as quickly as possible. That run took 1 hour 31 minutes and 29 seconds, had 14 continues and basically played all codecs back, so it's more like a fast playthrough in one setting. If you want to talk about someone who actually ran Metal Gear MSX in the early 2010s with the intention of beating the game as fast as possible, and someone who uploaded his runs in full as single segment videos, then we can take a look at our first official world record holder, RyuLetsPlays. RyuLetsPlays played on the European PlayStation 2 version of Metal Gear. This provides him with a great speed advantage over the MSX2 NTSC version, because during the porting process of the 2004 Java version to the PS2 platform, the developers decided that running Metal Gear at the usual PAL speeds would be no fun at all. So the decision during development was made to increase the speed the game is running at slightly, just barely, like only 11% faster. Because of this, today's video will mainly focus on that European PS2 version, as the NTSC variant is exactly the same game in speedrun, but just at 11% slower speeds. If you ever want to get a feeling for how slow the PAL version would have run, look no further than Ryan Walker's world record for the MSX2 PAL version. Let alone the slowness of the theme of Barra haunts me to this day. Besides the PAL speed increase, the PS2 version of Metal Gear MSX sadly loses out on some speedrun tech that earlier testers have been able to abuse. There's no classic safe loading anymore, but a new version. And this does not allow us anymore to reload resources almost instantly for quick ammunition retrieval. In the same way, you can also not turn off electric floors. For all intents and purposes, PS2 PAL 80% runs have been mainly done in a glitchless manner. And I would argue they still do to this day. So, performed live on the Metal Gear Speedrunners Twitch channel on April 13th, 2014, RyuLetsPlays showed us how Metal Gear was played on the European PlayStation 2. Selecting the original difficulty, we enter once again out of heaven. He's first grabbing 3 rations, the maximum amount, snaking carry on rank 1, and then getting the level 1 card. Ryu also decides to get the gas mask and the pistol for later use. Ryu will use strategies that are mainly avoiding hurdles in order to have as high of a chance as possible to preserve health and minimize ration use. What is notably different is the fact that Ryu also gets the remote-controlled rockets on his way throughout the 3rd floor of Building 1. These RC missiles can be used to toggle switches off in later rooms. So unlike in the MSX runs before, he actually does not backtrack to the northwest elevator, but he keeps walking onwards counterclockwise to meet the electric floor room. Here he can now use the RC missiles to toggle the switch and walk over the floor without losing health. On entering the next room, he also uses the pistol and ammo acquired to get rid of the guards present, which also resets the floor-wide alert. From now on, most of this floor will be saving hostages, avoiding being seen, and getting the grenade launcher past the 4 horsemen room. Initially in the room with the 4 horsemen, he tries to shoot them all to get the silencer. However, the pistol sadly does not reach past the length of the boxes, so he's forced to directly engage and get closer to the guards while risking his health. After 2 rations being used up already, but also successfully grabbing the silencer and grenade launcher, it's notable that he skips saving the 4th POW off this floor and instead immediately heads to the right half of the floor. There he grabs the box, which also allows him to safely pass cameras and laser traps without being caught. Already, we see some part of the history being lost to time until today. The routing of the POWs has been sadly a bit unoptimized considering what other people have known since 2004. But again, the first few runs were not able to be found back then, and I also additionally assumed that Ryu did come up with his strategies on his own. Back to the run. On the first floor again we have 2 more POWs and a rank up for health refill, but also 3 cameras in our path to continue. So he saves the first POW, enters the box and waits for the cameras to bypass him. Then he can safely and undetected move on to save the second POW of the floor and also get the SMG, before finally ending in the bottom left corner, which will Snake get trapped and caught. After saving Grey Fox, it's time to retrieve our stuff once again from the cell, get the level 3 card and also get 1 ammo box. Interestingly enough, Ryu already decided he won't fight Shopmaker and instead just walks past him. This is one of those things showing that similar to the MSX version, also the PS2 version of Metal Gear allows you to skip bosses. There's only one boss that holds a card that you need to beat him for, and everyone else is mostly possible to be skipped. As usual, Ryu walks through the maze, gets the bomber suit and the enemy uniform, then entering the second floor that requires us to save yet 2 more POWs, get past machine gun kit and retrieve the parachute for later. The approach Ryu takes is being stealthy and undetected. He also uses the other RC missiles to get rid of MGK now in order to avoid taking damage. Once all that is done, he leaves for the roof. On the roof, we see a slight variation of the route we inspected so far. Instead of going straight to the hind rooftop boss fight, Ryu actually goes further to the left to save yet another POW. That is actually the POW he could have saved grabbing here if he would have done it on 3F instead. Then of course he's also getting more ammo quickly by leaving and re-entering the room again for respawning ammo boxes. And yet after that he still goes on more side quests, because he decides to go left past the Hagen bridges to get the mine detector. All that while being under a forced alert, the electric floor being active and lots of damage being taken now before going to the hind, where he also plays it now very safe. He stands all the way in the corner at the boxes and shoots the hind with the grenade launcher. This position will be the go-to place to stand in order to be safe from the hind. After that, Ryu drops from the roof and safely lands with the parachute in the center courtyard. From there he needs to go south to the right truck, and this one holds the level 4 card. With the mine detector used, he can safely pass between the mines and get the card undamaged. From then on, it's time to go north, save your 10th POW and get yet another rank up onto level 3. Also interesting, before leaving the first building, Ryu also grabs 3 packs of mines for 15 in total, so he can fight the tank in the desert. So Ryu sets out to place 12 mines as quickly as possible under the tank. Let's see his approach here. Ryu's placing the mines very carefully by the walls and making sure to not get shot. Despite the 9 rations in his inventory, he keeps it safe. The tank does have some RNG aspect to it if you want to fight it. It can either go backwards or further forwards. If the tank touches you, Snake immediately dies. No ration can help you then. However, even in modern runs, where we do fight the tank, such as in 100%, you can be damaged by the tank's turret and use your iframes to quickly walk inside the tank and place some mines there. But since that knowledge was not present anymore at that day, Ryu just patiently waits for the tank to go back. You have to know you can only place 3 mines at once on the screen, so each time he placed 3, he's walking back behind the walls to be safe. 4 of these back and forths later, and the fight is over. On entering the second building, Ryu gets some more ammo and faces the bulldozer. The bulldozer can only be damaged by the grenade launcher again, but 8 grenades later and the bulldozer is beaten. Past the roof, getting the level 5 card going all the way down, Ryu faces off with Fire Trooper. Here we see the first instance of a human run doing what we should have done all in this case. Just walk past the enemy. Now, back on the first floor, Ryu walks on and getting the flashlight. He then proceeds to go right to save the POW. After that POW, get the antenna. Now on the 2F floor, Ryu gets the antidote, which is fair to get. Getting poisoned by the scorpions is quite annoying. And especially in a single segment run, you don't want to get poisoned, deal with that. And finally, we save the 15th POW to achieve rank 4. Now with rank 4, we're getting finally important enough to call friend Jennifer on frequency 12048. We need to call her in the speedrun twice, to first have the rocket launcher spawn in the falling room, and later to get the door open for the combat. Since we can't use the room reload glitch to quickly gather ammo, we walked all the way to the southwestern room with 3 ammo boxes. He acquires enough boxes to have ammo for the brats and for later bosses as well. Coming back to the central room, quickly taking care of the dudes that hold car 7, and getting the compass in the northeastern room as previously discussed. Now we're finally done with building 2, as we acquired all the things we need to finish the run. Now if the goal was to get to the underground, he could have just taken the elevator that's to the right after grabbing the compass, saving himself the roof visit. But alas, let's move on. It's time to cross the 20-kilometer long desert. And yes, fun fact, that 5-screen long desert is actually 20 kilometers long. Once we reach building 3, we need to open up a wall to make a gap. not fall into the opening pits, and take the elevator down 100 floors. Yeah, once again, these 4 screens we move down don't really suggest 100 floors, but thankfully the later Metal Gear Solid Game Boy Color game, also known as Metal Gear Ghost Babel, actually does show us that the elevator in that part of the game is actually going down all 100 floors, as Ghost Babel actually placed in the ruins of Outer Heaven. Neat. At the bottom, opening once again a hidden wall, we get the oxygen tank. This allows us to swim the long path to the upper right of Building 2 to reach a specific room of Building 3. So yeah, of course it's time to walk back through the desert and swim north again. Now at this point in the speedrun, it becomes quite straightforward. We swim north, shoot Dirty Depp, get his level 8 card, then swim south again. A third trip through the desert, and second trip down the elevator to the underground, and we face off against Metal Gear TX55. In the PS2 version at least, we finally do have a visual indicator for the correct order of legs hit. We need to place plastic explosives in front of his legs in a specific order. It can be summarized as follows. You go right, right, left, and then do right, left, left. And then we do it in reverse. Right, left, left, then right, right, left. And the final order is right, left, right, right. After the 16 explosives are placed and exploded, it's time to escape. But oh no! Big Boss wants us to prevent from leaving, so Ryu takes out his rocket launcher, shoots Big Boss 4 times, and then leaves on the most left ladder. Unfortunately, the PS2 port of Metal Gear also fixed the hitbox detection on the ladders, and thus we can't go up the middle or right ladder. Now that the run is over, RyuLetsPlays clocks his run in at a whopping 38 minutes and 48 seconds RTA. Considering everything, this is not terrible at all, only being 5 minutes behind the original task run by Thomas Hagen, and now being done in one single segment with just a single death. This definitely is our first worthy and human-made single segment world record of Metal Gear MSX any %. From here on, a week later, Ryu did another run again at another PB. The very same route as last time, but saving some time not dying to the pits in Building 3 and not needing as many rations anymore in his second underground visit. This saved him enough time for a new minute barrier, achieving a 37:52 RTA. Yet another few days later, on May 1st, he achieved yet another PB. This time the jump was considerably bigger. In this run, Ryu already played with less alerts, smarter moves like resetting rooms, for better line taking and avoiding guards and cameras, and overall requiring less health at the start of the run. This time he also avoids the silencer grab and just skips fighting the 4 horsemen. He still doesn't get the 4th POW of this floor, but also still gets the box for later. In this run he also skips getting the mine detector and immediately moves on to fight the Hind after the bridges. Since he has enough rations at this point and knowing he can always get more soon in the desert, instead of walking around the mines, he just walks directly on them for a more direct line. What's also new is the extra plastic explosives he's grabbing in the desert truck. Similar to how Vampire MSX did it in his MSX run, this will save him some time later, as you won't need to do as much backtracking to get enough explosives to fight Metal Gear TX55 at the end. After that, the route has not changed at all. Ryu really just played a lot better, more direct and with faster menus. And in the end, it'll give him a new PB of 35 minutes and 23 seconds RTA. There's only one last personal best and world record RyuLetsPlays, and he achieved it in 2014, and it's his last run that I was able to find from him. This is his 33 minutes and 15 RTA Metal Gear MSX any % on PlayStation 2. His first big time save was that he got one extra ammo pack on the rooftop to give him enough ammo for the grenade launcher. With that, he was not required anymore to get extra ammo in Building 2 before the bulldozer and can immediately go and destroy it. The next time save was his more careful playing in the second floor of Building 2. Without the floor-wide alert, he wasn't required to heal as much, and he saved time moving forward instead. Unfortunately, he still decides to take the path over the roof to get to the eastern elevator instead of using the elevator on the floor that's right there. Just saving him some more luck in the endgame, and finally, he ended up with a new personal best of 33 minutes and 15 seconds real time. With 2014 ending, RyuLetsPlays was not to be seen anymore. Instead, another runner will leave his mark on the game. His early findings and detective work into Metal Gear MSX for the PS2 version will lead to massive updates of the round for the Big Boss category as well for the any % category. Sadly, some old runs of his have been lost to the times. The only runs we still have from the 2015 era is his NTSC Big Boss run he performed at GDQ, as well as the regular run at home. The name of the runner? PuchieDarcy. From him, there also existed a PS2 pair run at the time, but not from the any % category. PuchieDarcy had a massive world record in 2016 for the Big Boss category of Metal Gear MSX with a time of 26 minutes and 40 seconds. So not only did he beat in 2015 what RyuLetsPlays did by around 7 minutes, he also did it under the restrictions of Big Boss. That means only one ration is allowed to be used, no extra alerts besides the 8 enforced ones, 0 kills and 0 continues. So without these restrictions, Was it possible to get an even faster time for the any percent category? Well, we don't have to wait long to find an answer, because in 2016, yet another runner tried himself at the any percent category. His name is Beardy. His oldest PP is an any percent run from February 2016, with a runtime of exactly 27 minutes flat. In March 2016, he even got a 26 minutes and 15 second run. And Beardy's final personal best was a 26:05 RTA in July 2016. Now sadly, also, all of these runs have been lost to time. It is not up to me to decide if I should include these runs officially in the world record history when I can't inspect them anymore today, but I would simply trust the moderators of the day back then that they timed everything right. Luckily, it would not take too long to finally get an updated run on that level with video proof that survived today. 2 years, 3 months, 22 days. 844 days until another world record update happened, and thankfully, this time we do have video proof. It is fair to assume that this run used the exact same strategies and route that the runners from 2015 and 16 used. Why? Because this run with video proof is from PuchieDarcy, the runner that originally revolutionized how Metal Gear MSX was understood and run. The runner that had a faster big boss time than the any percent world record back then, and he finally did an any percent run himself. Here's how his route works and how it really overworked what was known before. At the start of the run, PuchieDarcy grabs 3 rations and the level 1 card. He then moves south to get the gas mask. On his way then afterwards to the elevator, he goes full throttle with the alert into the doors. On the 3rd floor, he uses the same strategies as in his big boss runs. He gets no alert, moves through the south to get 2 POWs and the level 2 card. Then he returns back to the start of the floor and gets the previously unused 3rd POW, and then meets the 4 horsemen, tanks all the damage, and get the grenade launcher. Afterwards, he then saves in the east the 4th POW, and he ends the floor by getting an alert on his way to the elevator, which resets on entering, and no box has been grabbed at all. On the 1st floor again, he continues as normal, getting no alert, saving 2 POW, and getting the submachine gun. In the underground, he grabs his stuff and 5 ammo boxes to have enough ammo for the grenade launcher for the rest of the run. Thanks to the submachine gun, Shotmaker is quickly taken care of while not taking any damage, and the rest is usual business, getting the bomb suit and the enemy uniform, and then onwards to 2F. On the floor 2F, he goes south without any alerts and only saving the bottom POW. Then he enters the MGK room to deal with him quickly, taking 1's damage. And after the parachute and the 2nd POW of this floor, instead of taking the slower right side path without an alert, PuchieDarcy continues north immediately, getting a floor-wide alert. And luck was on his side, and he only got shot once on his way. On the roof then, PuchieDarcy immediately puts on a ration because his plan is to tank all the damage to get to the hind fight. Once again, he got lucky enough to not need the ration, and he can safely in the corner deal with the hind. After 20 grenades, it's time to jump with the parachute on. Back on the ground floor, he quickly enters the truck and tanks the damage from the nearby mine thanks to a leftover ration. And then saving the 10th POW for rank 3 promotion, it's time to leave building 1 at the first half of the run. Already PuchieDarcy has a huge lead over the previous strategy that RyuLetsPlays used in 2014. He doesn't need a mine detector, he has better POW management, and also better ammo acquisition. Now in the desert, he stocks up some rations, getting ready to not fight the tank. Yes, we're finally skipping the tank, and it's back as a strategy. Because PuchieDarcy also required more ammo earlier, he did not need to get into the building 2 and start getting ammo first. No, Puchie can walk immediately into the hallway with the bulldozer and beat it. Then before leaving the floor, PuchieDarcy gets the antenna and moving onwards to the elevator unharmed. During his Hellwolf run, he had all 9 rations still available from the desert. In the underground then, as usual, saving 2 POWs and getting the level 6 card before walking through the frame trooper, who we also don't need to beat. Then PuchieDarcy follows up to the 2F floor, meeting first another POW, and then meeting the last 15th POW before the rocket launcher for the rank 4 promotion, similar to Hagen back in 2004. Again, these strategies have been around since 2015, since he first reworked the route, so this is not new for 2018, but sadly this is the only version that we have available right now for PS2 PAL at least. After the rocket launcher then, he walks on all the way to the west, being under alert and equipped with the rations from before, grabbing 9 ammo boxes for a total of 18 rockets. The first 8 will be used as the Brads. The strategy is to have the Brad run up to him, shoot the wall, and while being a safe distance away to not take any damage, take care of the Brads. It didn't quite work out, but he will be able to continue without much hassle after this. And after a quick grab under alert of the compass, he'll make his way towards the eastern elevator. Before leaving the second building, he quickly gets one more plastic explosives box. One trip through the desert then, getting the oxygen tank, going back, swimming past the water, and a quick fight versus Dirty Duck, PuchieDarcy enters the final stretch of the speedrun. Before going to the underground, he quickly turns back to die to a pit, This death on the PlayStation 2 version has two effects. One of them is to remove the poison status from Snake. The other one is that it resets the IGT back to when the checkpoint was made when entering the elevator. More on the checkpointed IGT system later. Now, with the poison status removed, he walks through the rest of the game like a pro, dancing between the legs of TX55, giving Big Boss 4 rackets to the face, and finally leaving the ladder on the left. And as the final cutscene plays, PuchieDarcy has performed a new world record for the Metal Gear MSX PS2 80% speedrun history with a time of 25 minutes and 51 seconds. His routing changed the course of Metal Gear speedrunning in a drastic way. Since 2015, of course. Not only did it make Big Boss runs more attainable, but it also gave a blueprint for the 80% category runners how to approach the game, including the original difficulty. And his run will stand for an entire year. Let's enter 2019. A new set of runners is ready to take on Metal Gear as a speed game, and one of those runners is Erifrem. During his practice of Metal Gear, he died multiple times to learn the route. One time he did manage to die 5 times on the same checkpoint, and this led to a discovery that will shake the leaderboards from the ground up. You see, if you die 5 times on the same checkpoint, the PlayStation 2 version of Metal Gear will grant you a bonus, a way of the developers to speed up your progress, so to speak. First, it will fill your inventory up with rations to the maximum available according to your rank. It will also give you weapons like plastic explosives, remote-controlled rockets, and mines. And lastly, each time the checkpoint is being reloaded, the IGT also jumps back to the saved IGT when the checkpoint was first made. So before 2019, Metal Gear was also primarily run on the original difficulty and timed with the IGT. Of the score screen, that happens at the end of the game. This score screen is only present in the PlayStation 2 version. The original MSX version has neither a timer in the background, nor does it track your stats or a score screen. So this is one aspect already that splits the MSX and PS2 version even wider apart. And now consider how much time people lost in the desert when grabbing the 9 rations to be ready for the rest of the game. And you can easily see how this new death mechanic actually can be quite time-saving. Because while it does cost real time, the fact that you can fill your rations from 0 to 9 with one move and all it requires is to die 5 times is pretty strong in an IGT time category. And that's why Erifrem set out in November 2019 to perform a new run for the Metal Gear MSX speedrun leaderboard on the PS2 version. And this is his run. First off, notice that Erifrem is running on the easy difficulty. Easy difficulty has some benefits for the speedrun, as we'll talk throughout this video. The main aspect that you need to know about the easy difficulty is that all damage you take is half. What also doesn't change is on easy difficulty for Metal Gear 1 at least, you still need to do the same damage towards the enemies and you don't need less time there. So the Hind, for example, on original and on easy difficulty, both takes 20 shots from the grenade launcher to explode. So since Erifrem plays on the easy version, he can also pick up twice as many rations compared to original difficulty. For his run, he picked up 5 rations initially and then grabbing the level 1 card. From here, he skips grabbing the gas mask and heading directly to the 3F map. Here he gets the floor-wide alert and runs straight through the gas room using up one of his rations. After retrieving the level 2 card, he runs back clockwise to the start and saves more POWs. Beating the 4 horsemen then, grabbing the grenade launcher and the last POW to be saved. That's how quickly under full alert you can do 3F on easy difficulty. You have no worries about health and being cautious, you're just doing pure speed. He barely makes it down, but as he says himself, he will quickly get a free heal on the ground floor again. So in the basement, it's the usual deal. Get rid of the tracker, get the level 3 card, and enough ammo for the submachine gun and the grenade launcher. After the basement on 2F, we see yet more risks being taken. Erifrem runs directly into the line of sight of the camera, causing another floor-wide alert. As he runs through to the next POWs and to the machine gun kit, he barely makes it with the health he received from the rank up. Erifrem's run had one major issue, sadly. That was that he wasn't quite in the right position near the Hind, and he required to use more grenades than he should have. Afterwards, it's the same deal as usual, jump down with the parachute, and you use up another ration by the mines near the level 4 car truck. He's had another change to the route since Puchie's era. No plastic explosives are being picked up in the desert, and we're going to see later why. For now, Erifrem needs to tackle the issue of not having enough grenades for the grenade launcher. What he does is as follows. He enters building 2, gets to the bulldozer, and gets splat by it. The checkpoint is right on entering building 2, so it's not a huge RTA time loss, and the advantage of this is also that his rations and plastic explosives will fill up to the now rank 3 level, meaning he has 18 rations now instantly and 120 grenades for the launcher. After the antenna grab and the Hellroof visit in the underground, he benefits again from the death bomb. Without the death mask, he's constantly taking damage, around 2 life bars of it. But thanks to 18 rations in the PS2 version automatically using rations, if equipped, he can make it with the mace without much hassle. Now on 2F the route gets followed as usual with the rank 4 promotion, rocket launcher grab, but also here the death bomb comes in again, saving a huge amount of time. First, the path to the right elevator is shorter, and with the huge benefit of the death rolling pin, we can now continue very quickly 5 times in a row. With the setup, we can refill our rations to the maximum, including all the ammo of our acquired weapons, and that also includes the rocket launcher that we need right away. From here, the run basically returns back to the lair that PuchieDarcy has shown earlier. Of course, being poisoned now with 24 rations also allows everyone to continue throughout the whole run without needing another continue to heal. So after the 2 desert trips, Beardy, TX55 and Big Boss, what time set did he achieve overall? Well, it's new world record by a 25:32, a whole 19 seconds faster at this point, but only if we time the run in real time. The IGT world record was a 25:34 by PuchieDarcy. And how much faster was Aerofrem's IGT in this run? A 23:39, almost 2 entire minutes faster than PuchieDarcy's run from 2018.
Holy smokes.
This mainly comes down to easier difficulty and death farming and having more rations, allowing Aerofrem way more aggressive paths through the game. And since the death farm does not cost IGT, the time spent acquiring these benefits was free. For now, the discussion between changing the timing method from IGT to RTA was not yet a big factor. And as 2019 ends, 2020 rolls around and another runner joins the leaderboard, coming for his own share of the world record history. Meet TheRealBeserker, who joined the leaderboards at the start of 2020, and ironically, his first video we'll check out today was not considered world record for some time. Why? Because his IGT was actually slower than that of Aerofrem's, but Berserker managed to clean up a lot in real-time mistakes that Aerofrem was doing, including not needing extra ammo before the bulldozer and playing overall a bit cleaner. So his first run on the history board may not be the IGT world record, but for today's leaderboard, in RTA, it sure was. With a time of 24:21, he beat Aerofrem by 1 minute and 11 seconds. But just a month later, in March 2020, Aerofrem returned triumphant with a run of his own. This time he wants to clean up his mistakes from 2019. However, this was not the only change. On 3F, instead of circling back west after the level 2 card, we continued going counterclockwise to meet the 4 horsemen. This had the benefit that the order of cards used on the floor led to less menus being performed, as well as having less mileage to run too. Another improvement is the new position during the hind fight. Sitting in the middle of the 2 boxes on the left of the hind is also a safe spot where the hind can't shoot you, as it is locked to specific angles. Thanks to this, Snake can move closer and guarantee that each grenade will hit the hind. Of course, thanks to this high position, Aerofrem also saved a huge chunk of RTA by not needing to perform the death farm in Building 2 now. He does, however, still need more rations going through the game, so instead of doing death farm at the start of Building 2, he does go down to the elevator from the roof into the 2F floor where the death pin is. He's quickly leaving the elevator, which then updates the checkpoint, and now he can very quickly farm 5 bullets at death pin. From here, it's onwards through the rest of Building 2, the desert, Dirty Dark, and back through the desert, Metal Gear, Big Boss. At the end of the run, Aerofrem cleaned up his last split with a fresh RTA finish off exactly 1 second faster than the real Berserker. But more importantly, through the smart use of Death Farm, his IGT was even faster than his previous run. At 23:12, that means back then, this was actually a new world record by the IGT time method as well, by 27 seconds. But this is not it for 2020. The real Berserker actually came back the next day on March 24th, 2020, with yet another run of his own. With more cleanups and optimization, his RTA was the world's first sub-24 run, with 23 minutes and 37 seconds. The first RTA run to finally achieve a time of 23 minutes and some. The IGT, Berserker got a 23:07, ever so close to the sub-23 minute mark. Metal Gear MSX is officially getting faster and faster towards the sub-20 minute mark. And yet, Aerofrem was also not done either. On March 27th, 2020, he sat down and did more runs and ended the day with this: the world's first sub-23 minute IGT run with a time of 22 minutes and 53 seconds. The RTA was 11 seconds slower than Berserker's run, but for 2020 this did not matter, as, again, IGT was the leading time comparison. With that, the record stuck with Aerofrem firmly for 5 months. August 26, 2020, the RyuLetsPlays sat down once more to try his best at Metal Gear MSX. Right away, there's a first difference in the routing. Berserker picks up the level 1 door card first, then the rations, changes his menu slightly. Now, to initially use the level 1 card, all he needs to do is open the menu and immediately close it again, as the menu cursor will be right on top of the level 1 card. At this point, the routing for Metal Gear has been developing slowly but surely to its modern standard. In 2F, we start by getting the floor-wide alert. Meet the first POW, use 1 ration in the gas room, save the second POW, move past the death pin, and hope to not use up a ration before we pick up the level 2 card. Then we run through the electric floor room, use another ration to finally meet the third POW, run past the 4 horsemen, and get the grenade launcher. On the way we usually have to use a third ration until we meet the 4th POW of this floor, to then leave towards the ground floor again. As Berserker is moving through the game, we can also see he's slowly optimizing his run more and more. Lines get taken closer to the edges along the wall, and doors get entered more quickly by turning into them earlier to save frames. At the end, the final time is just 1 second PB from his previous run, but for the world record history, his time of 23 minutes and 28 seconds edged out the current route, real-time wise, and secured in a place on the top of the leaderboard. The comparison back then in-game time, however, showed a vastly bigger difference. 22 minutes and 32 seconds. Berserker just beat Airframe's world record by 21 seconds on that day. And with that, the early 2020 era came to an end with no big updates anymore. It will require a new method to break the run down even further and new alien strategies. Which is funny because someone did do that at the end of 2020 and his findings would change the board forever. Until now, there's a good reason why I did not go into depth about the difference of an RTA or real-time attack route versus an IGT or in-game time route. That is because for the early stages of this death farming strategy that Airframe introduced, runners mainly looked into quick time saves for IGT while not sacrificing too much real time, since this would mean less fun and more repetitive dying over and over again in parts that take too long to die in. In late November, early December of 2020, Alien Hybrid joined the Metal Gear Speedrunners, and he was not deterred by taking more real time just to save some more in-game time. Here's a look at his first world record for the Metal Gear 80% category. Back then it broke the world record, but for today's main focus, his real time was actually 29 minutes. So how did we get here? Well, let's take a closer look. Right at the start of the run, he only grabs the level 1 card and moves onwards to the elevator without grabbing a single ration. The reason is quite simple. Why waste time grabbing rations when you can get them for free via Death Farm in the Free F map? He spends almost 3 minutes getting the floor-wide alert and dying just to save the 23 seconds it takes to get the rations from the truck. Alien Hybrid also saves time not needing the plastic explosives anymore and being able to move directly to the right of the death pin instead of waiting a cycle. From here on, it's much of the same route until he gets to the underground. There he only grabs 1 pack of ammo to beat Shopmaker, then moving onwards through the maze. The reason is simple. To get the necessary ammo for the grenade launcher, he will use Death Farm again by leaving the maze and then turning back to be attacked by the dogs. You should know, though, that this takes forever to continue from. The dogs only heal 1 HP of damage to Snake on easy difficulty, and since they need 5 deaths, Alien Hybrid spent over 3 minutes dying here just to get the necessary ammo, saving 13 seconds, not needing to backtrack into the room with the ammo box. From here on out, it's much of the same run we already looked at. One more Death Farm after the rocket launcher acquisition, which actually barely costs RTA, and then onwards through the end of the game. Alien Hybrid spent in total 6 minutes real time just to save 32 seconds from the usual methods. And what IGT does he get afterwards? Well, for all that work and a 29-minute RTA run, he receives an IGT of 22.24. The aftermath of these runs Alien Hybrid did was quite fascinating to read up on. Alien did continue to perfect these IGT strategies as best as secured in 2020 and ended finally on an IGT of 21.22. With Christmas 2020 coming around then, the speedrunning Discord finally started the discussion about how to deal with the situation. For one, it has been shown that the IGT timing method definitely leads to strategies used that are frankly getting boring. Runs that basically just turn into multi-segment experiences for the lowest possible time. The aspect of the fast real-time run with consequences to each mistake was seemingly gone now. So the idea was born to start using real-time or RTA method as the main comparison method. Before boring you about the details, in the end, finally the decision was made to split the boards up. Both IGT and RTA will be their own leaderboards. Any percent can now be run in the way that allows for the lowest IGT or for the fastest real-time execution of the run. So starting from here, we will now only focus on these runs that continue to be submitted to the 80% RTA board. Speaking of RTA-focused runs, Alien Hybrid did also make an RTA-focused run right at the end of December 2020 while the discussions how to structure the boards were going on. He achieved a formidable 23.24 RTA, which beat Berserker's former run from August 2020 by 4 seconds. This run is not notably different in the route to Berserker's run, so we'll skip watching this one for today. Just know that this late December 2020 submission will stand as the world record for 2 months. See, around Christmas 2020, there were also some interesting new things found out about the game. More bosses can be skipped that previously were fought. That also means we don't need the submachine gun anymore, so we can move faster through the map as well. Now revived in 2021, with a new set of rules focusing on the fastest real-time execution, a new runner will make his name on the boards. Meet Puzon. Puzon very quickly started posting very fast times to the Discord. But its greatest fighting yet happened on February 9th, 2021. Instead of running between building 2 and 3 multiple times to acquire the oxygen tank, we find out we can simply swim the large gap between the 2 buildings if we are on full health. Initially, this was attributed to the fact that Puzon played on the faster PAL version of the game, but at the same time, this skip was also possible on the NTSC version of the game. In the end, playing on easy difficulty was what made the difference all along. Because the damage you take is halved on the easy difficulty, the total damage you take during the swim section is exactly 46 points, 2 points less than your full health at rank 4, which is 48. With this new oxygen tank skip, Puzon easily took the world record as it saved runners 2 minutes and 10 seconds not needing to backtrack between the 2 buildings. Let's take a look at this run. Right away you can notice that Puzon is optimizing his movement, taking very early lines and utilizing the corners of boxes to be pushed over on the right lane. Him entering and leaving trucks also happens quite quickly without walking further than he needs to. It's also noticeable that his text boxes are flying by way faster than anyone else's before. This mainly comes from spinning your analog stick to spam inputs, which again then much quicker advances the text boxes, saving each time a small fraction of a second, which adds up quite quickly. In the desert, instead of avoiding these mines by walking all the way to the left and then up, he traced a simple line that lets him bypass the mines faster, leading into a fast tank skip setup. Puzon also utilized alert resets in Building 2 to achieve more health retention before leaving towards the roof. After Building 2, now not needing the oxygen tank anymore, he fully heals up before taking a large swim and achieves a free time save of over 2 minutes and 10 seconds. His run only had some minor hiccups, and one big one actually. He accidentally went all the way to the roof in the Building 2 elevator after meeting Fire Trooper, instead of going to 2F. So, in order to remedy this, he had to take a death to return back inside the elevator at the bottom and leave then to the correct floor. That mistake cost him 28 seconds. So almost immediately, Puzon joins the leaderboard, lowers the world record down to a 20-minute time. But remember, his 28 seconds time loss preventing him to get sub 20? Well, it didn't stop there anymore. In the same week, with yet another run, Puzon cleared up his mistake and actually achieved the world's first sub 20-minute completion of Metal Gear MSX 80% with an RTA of 90 minutes and 43 seconds. And a day later, he did yet another run, pushing the time down to a mid-19, 19 minutes and 32 seconds. With the world record safely in his hands, Puzon took a break, which gave another runner time to learn the run and get his own personal best down lower and lower. At the end of April, Sergeant Silent joined the Metal Gear MSX runners. He started quite well already with a time of 20 minutes and 7 seconds, barely missing the sub 20 minute mark. Then on May 4th, 2021, he achieved his own sub 20 minute run with a time of 90 minutes and 44 seconds. And finally, after a short break, Sergeant Silent ran the game again in June 2021 and achieved his first world record in this gaming category. His time? 90 minutes and 24 seconds.
That's a new record right there. Let's go.
Beating Puzon out by 8 seconds. His run was not much different to Puzon's, but in the smaller details it was clear Sergeant had his share of practice done and cleaned up his menus for fast executions. Then only a month later, on July 19th, Puzon answered with his run. He achieved a 90 minutes and 20 seconds. It was clear, slowly but surely, the sub 90 minute mark is approaching. This is the optimization era. But Puzon's run was quite strong, and it stood for quite some time. One reason was that there was no easy-to-follow video tutorial available on how to learn this game. That was until in late 2021 I started to learn the game. My teaching session with Sergeant Silent was recorded, edited and uploaded for everyone to watch. From here on, it was getting much easier to learn how to do the run, besides the text documents the speedrunning community had on their wiki. After another while, I started picking up this game again and worked on an autosplitter for the PS2 emulator. With the PS2 emulator and an easy-to-use autosplitter, doing runs got more and more accessible. Even so much that I made a direct tutorial based on my knowledge and training I had included some run experience. So in May 2022, I sat down and started doing more and more runs, until I better understood what details I needed to look out for. The result? Well, see for yourself. At the time, my personal best was a run of 20 minutes and 9 seconds. I personally didn't even like the run as much, and I only learned it initially to be able to commentate a race for the community event at the time. But after the 2021 winter and spring season and my personal success story of running Metal Gear Solid 2 was over, I came back and quite enjoyed the much shorter run experience of Metal Gear MSX. So on May 27th, 2022, I performed one of my best runs at the time. One thing we haven't discussed yet is the sheer luck you need at times now for running Metal Gear MSX really fast. In the beginning, we only take 6 rations, and ideally these are the only ones we manually acquire. Runners normally use up 4 rations in the first building and 2 more in building 2. Before we then get to the death farm, of course, which quickly fills up the rations to the full 24 again. But with bad luck and lots of damage alone taken in the 3F area of building 1, it can happen that you need not 3 but 4 rations, requiring you to get a backup ration in the truck that's in the desert between building 1 and 2. So runners that wanted to compete at the top already had to be lucky enough that throughout all their alert movement they don't lose too much health, or there's an instant reset. You can see also another instance of needing luck here in 2F in building 1. On our way to see the machine gun kit, we ideally don't need to use the ration early, as it is much faster menuing after MGK from level 3 card to the ration. Use it manually and then move on to the level 1 card. Using the ration earlier will cost us time sadly. And the biggest time save was the roof on building 2. There I didn't need to heal up manually, but was able to run all the way through. This allows me to use the 2 rations during the gas maze later in one go, rather than using 1 ration on the roof and 1 later. Another big time save was correcting my early mistakes also in some menuing, such as healing after the swim and moving to the level 7 card to leave building 2. And after everything, the world record still stood at 90 minutes and 20 seconds. It's so free! It's so free! Speaking for myself, I did not feel discouraged at all, because that 1920 by Puzon felt like it was miles away, unreachable for me at that time. And seeing how I tied it, I definitely felt more hungry than ever to not only break that tie, but to advance the world record even further. Yes, I did plenty of mistakes and small mishaps moving, and my menuing still wasn't quite as refined. So, on May 31st, 2022, I did another set of runs, and finally came out with this. It's over. I did it. Yeah! And 1918, the first time in 10 months, the world record has changed hands. I was happy, ready to leave the game where it was and move on to other things. The perfect opportunity for someone else to pick up the run. And that runner goes by the name Volcanic Akuma 55. Akuma did his first run on June 2nd, 2022 and posted a respectable time of 21 minutes and 16 seconds. A day later, on June 3rd, he had lowered his personal best down to 90 minutes and 53 seconds. And another day later, he achieved this run. And 1918, yet again did the world record for Metal Gear MSX get tied between 2 runners. This is no coincidence, because I've said we're now in the optimization era. I think of it as such. The route is the same, everything else that now leads to the time sets of runners really comes down to just a handful of aspects. Luck, not requiring as much health, and allowing for better movement, especially using corner bumps and better frame perfect timings entering doors, and lastly of course the menu execution. Menu execution is a huge part now of the speedrun. Metal Gear MSX, unlike some later games in the Metal Gear series, still require you to equip each card individually that is fitting for a door. Meaning a level 2 door can only be opened with a level 2 door card. A level 3 door can't be opened with a level door card that's 4 higher. It has to be matching exactly. Later games thankfully removed that requirement and only need you to hold the card actively in your hand, or even later ditch the requirement to equip the door card completely. So one thing Akuma did to optimize his chances of surviving the 3F map is to take a lower path between the death pin and the level 2 card. This usually allows him to be more consistently using the second ration during the electric floor room and not earlier, leading to some decent chances his runs move past the 3F map into the later stages of this run. Another nice, albeit small, detail is also his cornering at times. On the 2F map, he takes the first left turn super early, allowing him to bypass the guard without running into him. It's small details like this that eventually will add up to preserve more health. Thankfully though, we did not need to wait long for another update. Akuma kept running that day and on June 4th, came back hours later with another update. And 1916. 2 seconds faster yet again. The race is on. Inspired by the competition, I tried myself again on Metal Gear, and on June 5th, I achieved this run. I initially went about the run as usual, Already in forever, I had some small issues popping up. I did not get into the door right after the POW number 3. But besides that, the rest of the floor went about as usual. Especially taking the elevators as soon as possible was the latest way to optimize the run. Now back on the ground floor, I made it through the cell with very little damage surprisingly. I also made it past Shotmaker while only being shot once. This set me up for a great 2F map. While I did get shot a lot going towards Machine Gun Kit, with the amount of health I had, I was not worried I need to heal too early. And after the hindfight, already I was almost 3 seconds ahead of the tied world record. After the boulders on Telegraph and a successful hell roof, the advantage only rose further with a minus 4.9 lead going into the underground. After Fire Trooper, my menu's movement helped me to advance even more to a minus 6.1 seconds lead. Sadly, the guard near the death pin decided to take a nap, so that was a small time loss. And after the death bomb and a small life split correction, my time lead was almost 11 seconds ahead, on pace for the sub 1910. Dirty Deck, another mistake happened, and the first rocket missed, costing yet another few precious seconds of the lead. And another missed menu after the swim section cost me time, where I had to open the menu another time to go to the level 7 card. At this point I knew my life split was broken, but I kept running. And after the TX55 and Big Boss, going up the ladder, I knew this was a monumental update. And looking at the time, I just barely made it to a 19 minutes, 9 seconds and 890 milliseconds run, beating the time of Akuma by 9 seconds and getting the world's first sub 1910 RTA run. What happened the next days was probably the greatest fun I had in speedrunning. Akuma and I kept trading the world record back and forth within hours of each other. Here's how the timeline went down. I posted a 19.9 on June 5th in the morning. Akuma posted a 19.8 the same day. Then, I posted a 19.06 in the morning of June 6th. Akuma posted a 19.04. I take a few days off, come back, and then post a 19.04 myself on June 13th for yet another tie within. It was obvious neither one of us wanted to quit, and another thing became clear. We're approaching the final minute barrier, the sub 90-minute run. June 14th, 2022. I started my stream and kept running. The evening went well early as I got the world record back with a 19.02, but I wasn't happy. I knew I did some mistakes on my way, mistakes that I know I can clean up, and so went on for one last run that evening. Right well, half a second was safe, just getting the level 1 card in 6 rations. Throughout the 3F map, I barely made any mistakes and just marched on. Sadly, sometimes my menu inputs were done too fast, such as switching from level 2 to level 1 card on the ground floor before being captured again. This requires me to open the menu again and correct my cursor to the actual position I wanted it to be on. Then leaving the underground, my lead advanced to 1.1 seconds. Reaching the roof, I was almost on pace for sub 19. After the hindfight, it was official. I was in sub 19 pace. During the run, the pace flipped back and forth. One split I was well ahead into sub 19, then I was above it again. This lasted for the entire run, until the very end. After the big boss split, I knew I got it back in the end. And so when going up the ladder, this was my reaction. It's over! It's over! It's over! It's over! Yes! Yes! The world's first sub 19-minute run for Metal Gear MSX any percent RTA was achieved. For the rest of June 2020, that was it. I did run any percent IGT once as well, just to see how much further I was able to push the record. By that time, the IGT record laid with Sergeant Silent, I put up a respectable 18 minutes and 8 seconds run, for which he reset and cleaned up for over an hour. When I did my IGT focused run, I did it in 24 minutes real time. And the end result? Also world's first, the first sub 18-minute IGT run with an IGT of 17 minutes and 59 seconds. And then in 2022, for the 35th anniversary of Metal Gear MSX, and of course the birth of this franchise, the Speedrun Discord held a birthday livestream even. 3 days of speedrunning the entire series from start to finish, and sandwiched in between was also a speedrun tournament. 4 players signed up, and one of them was Nick RP Green. Nick did something that baffled all of us in that tournament. Just before meeting the TX55, Nick placed a bomb in the gas room all the way to the left. What?
Yeah, that's Nick? Another really early one you can place. That one.
It was simply one of those things nobody has done before, and it just happened to work out like that. After this, Nick went on to win the tournament and retrieve his grand prize of a Discord-exclusive tournament winner role. But what the Metal Gear MSX runners received that day was even better: the early bomb placement strategies. After the birthday event was over, I got to work. I carefully investigated each wall we have to blow up in a run and found out that not only can we place bombs on horizontal walls way earlier than we thought, but also on vertical ones. But it gets even better. On vertical walls, we can extend the radius of the explosion even further if we stand still for the moment the bomb explodes. Since the animation lasts a while, it is not even a frame-perfect trick, and runners can simply tap a couple of times to interrupt the movement. The advantage that we get from this was not insignificant anymore. On paper, it merely saves a few seconds. At the point that this run was at now, each partial second saved makes the world record even more optimized. So on July 20th, 2022, Volcanic Akuma 55 makes his comeback, and he got the world record within 18 minutes and 57 seconds. He basically cleaned up his entire personal best time losses and saved some extra time utilizing the early bomb placements. But surely enough, the old flame was ignited again, and I was also motivated to grind more. On July 21st, I tied Akuma again for the third time for the world record. But on July 22nd, I achieved this run in 1856, barely ending the tie again and achieving world record. As I said back then in my Speedruns division, I did not believe getting anything faster than 1850 was possible. Little did I know that all it took was just some competition again. However, Volcanic Akuma was sadly done. He achieved his sub 90-minute run and was happy to leave it at that. But thankfully, someone else took on the mantle of pushing for a new set of lower times in Metal Gear MSX, Beat High Style. On October 1st, 2022, High Style posts his 1857, the third runner ever to get a sub 90-minute run. On October 2nd, I posted an 1854, another 2 seconds shaved off the world record. October 3rd, yet another improvement from my side with an 1851 even, another 3 seconds shaven off the world record. And all the while, High Style kept pace with me. On October 5th, he posted in 1853. If Hasta would not have not been public and motivated me to join the grind as well, he would have gotten the world record at that point. And on the same day, October 5th, 2022, I posted my biggest achievement yet, an 1850 flat. This was officially it. After this, there's no more doubt about it. The world record for Metal Gear MSX any percent RTA for PS2 PAL is going below 1850. No! I turned right! I turned right! No! No! Sadly, this will not be another situation of tie world records and constant small improvements. What happened instead on October 7th was just the culmination of all my last year's work, studying the game and practicing relentlessly. And here is that run. The run started like any other. Quick lines around corners, no dialogue boxes on pickups, through smart input meshing. In the gas room, I menued so quickly from level 1 card to the ration, it looked like it was instantly. The cards afterwards left me alone mostly. After the level 2 card, I was able to use my rations without needing to manually use one. And after the 3F map, I already had a decent chunk of time lead. After being caught, getting rid of the tracer, I performed the menus also quite well. Unfortunately, I got caught twice by Shotmaker, lowering my health further than needed. But somehow during the maze segment, I managed to gold my split by 0.6 seconds, giving me a lead of 2.5 seconds at this point in the run. Sadly, I had a small miss menu before leaving the floor, needing to reopen the menu again. On my way past the Hind, Tank and Bulldozer, I left more precious time behind, now only being 1.9 seconds ahead. Thankfully, there was some more time saved to get during the codec segments where we need to dial in the codec frequency for Jennifer and to try to immediately call her. After the rocket launcher and compass have been received and I go to the elevator, my timeline shot back up to 2.8 seconds lead. After the swim skip and desert segment, I reached building 3 with 3 seconds of a time lead. Now the nerves were on. Only TX55 and Big Boss are left in my way. If I can carry this run to the end, the sub 1850 would not just be broken, but substantially improved. And indeed, my nerves started to tremble. So much even that I needed to audibly name all locations of the leg order.
Left,
right, left, left, right, left, left, right, right, left, right, left, right, right. Then 4 more rockets, and I was done. One, 2, 3, 4. I finally was able to see what Lightspeed was saying. Yes! 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 Let's go! Oh! Yes! There it fucking is! Yes! Yes! Oh my god! Woo! It's fucking dead. I just killed it. Oh my god. An absolutely insane improvement. For a category that was believed to be maxed out at 1920 by Puzon, to lowering the time even further, just small tricks being found and a sub 19 even being achieved, now the sub 1850 was absolutely insane to consider. But on October 7th, 2022, it was achieved. And I seriously thought this time would stand for years to come now. But I should have never expected what happened next. See, Highstyle was not done at all grinding his time down as well. His 1853 from October 5th was definitely great. But he saw, with my 1845, what was still possible. And in all fairness, the run from me was also not as flawless as I initially believed it to be. So Highstyle kept grinding. October 8th, he achieved his own 1850 flat. On October 9th, Highstyle achieved his 1849. The second run to go below 1850, just days apart from each other. Then was a break. A few days passed and nothing. A week passed, nothing. Then on October 29th, Highstyle posted this run to the leaderboards. Right away, we can see that Highstyle opted to save more time spamming his analog stick to skip dialogues. This was something I saw Puzon doing in 2021 as well, but in the meantime this was a bit of forgotten tech. This can be very useful in some situations where Snake won't move afterwards. But for situations where we can only skip a few boxes and can move immediately again, you may lose time if you kept twirling the stick and Snake just moves in a circle. So while some areas are very safe to do this, others are not so much. Let's see how far Highstyle pushed his technique in this run. You can tell that Highstyle also opted to just hold on X for some guards and not twist the stick. Going through the capture sequence in the maze, he saved yet another second. And after building 1 arriving at Hellroof, he pulled even with an 1845. After the rocket launcher and compass, he pushed even further ahead. And on even building 2, he was on pace for an 1842. This was unprecedented clean gameplay. And the golds kept on coming. A total of 4 gold splits back to back. Finishing with Big Boss and at times of 8 full seconds ahead of his BB. Once on the ladder, it was done. The run finishes with an 1841, the new world record. So after all this, my 1845 only lasted for less than a month. But looking back, the journey we all did go on with this record history was an amazing one. So where are we now with the world record? It's been 2 years since, and nobody's really tried to push beyond these times, let alone another sub-1850 attempt. Volcanic Akuma 55 has other interests. Other runners have improved their times, and yet even one runner actually joined the sub-90 minute club. But so far, beyond the 1850, only 2 runners since have achieved this goal. And from here on, there's only one way to go forward. The sub-1840.